Welcome, class. Menstruation Mondays. Menstruation Monday. Better check your menstruation on a Monday. Menstruation Monday. So this is a series on my YouTube channel where I'm going to be talking about everything menstruation. I genuinely enjoy researching about menstruation. I also have a few issues with my menstrual cycle, and I know that so many other women also experience pain and discomfort, heavy bleeding, headaches, migraines, fatigue, PMS, mood swings. The list goes on, and I am here on a mission to help people relieve their symptoms, to share my own story that it might help other people feel less alone, and to solve this crisis that we have, because it's a crisis, right? Like, so many women deal with this. Whenever I am open about my issues with my period, the amount of messages that I get that are like, "Me too, girl," or "same," or like, "Oh my god, I didn't know this," for example, when I share something about the luteal phase or something that helps with pain relief. I just think this information needs to be shared as wide as possible. And there are so many podcasts that you can go and listen to that share so much information. I listen to them, and I'm here spreading that word too. So you can stick with me, you can go anywhere else. I don't care where you get your information from. As long as it's readily available and it's helping you, then that makes me happy. As this is my first video, I'm just going to be sharing my personal story with my cycle. Try to include some helpful bits. There is a plane. Yeah, hopefully you'll find this helpful, and I'm just here spreading information, my own lived experience, and wanting to help people. My mum sent me a reel the other day, which is like the little girl crying, saying, "I want boobies." Like, her mum is like, "Why are you crying?" I'll try and insert a clip of it. I don't know if I can do that or if my video skills are up to that standard, but I'll try and find that.
Boobies.
You wish what?
I wish I had boobies.
You'll get boobies when you get a little older.
No, I won't.
And my mum sent it to me and she said, "This was you, but you said you wanted a period." I actually remember the day and the month. It was in June. I got my period in June. And I remember writing it in my diary when I was 14 years old because I was so happy that I got my period. Like, usually people would probably see blood in their underwear and be like, "What the actual fuck?" But my mum had bought me this book that was like the period book, and it just made periods sound really, really exciting. I'm going to also try and insert a picture of that book as well, because it was like a proper 90s style book. But it was just so fun. And I just thought having a period would make me so grown up and into a woman. And I just wanted to be a period girly, obviously. Little did I know about all of the symptoms that would occur and come with having a period. Because if I probably wouldn't have been that excited, to be honest. I probably would have been like,
"Fuck no, get me out of here. I don't want a fucking period."
So I remember that day, and we were actually sat at the dinner table, and I had gone to the toilet because I needed to go to the toilet during dinner. So my whole family was sat at the dinner table, and I shouted from the bathroom,
I got my period.
Yes! I was ecstatic to have the period.
And my poor dad, bless him, like living in a house with 3 daughters, 4 women. Do you know what? He knows his place, and he knows that he should listen to us and learn about what we have to go through. Thanks, Dad, for putting up with that. So yeah, I was so excited. And then after I got my period, I just started getting really bad acne. I just feel like I've had acne since I can remember. Even now, like if I turn my head this way, I think I've got like, this is a cyst. And so the type of acne that I have is cystic acne. I got my acne when I was 14. I am now 30 years old and I still have breakouts. My acne is a lot better managed than what it was, but my skin is still very oily. And I think if you have oily skin, your skin is more likely to cause the sebaceous glands, I believe it's called, that cause acne. From the research that I've done, I know that each of our bodies are really individual to us. So if someone else is telling you something about acne and that works for them, it might not necessarily work for you. A lot of the studies as well to do with acne tend to come back to diet. And if you think about our gut microbiome, we have like 3 billion or 30 billion, I don't even know, but the amount of microbes that are in our gut are super, super individual to us. And if you think about billions of those things being really, really individual, we're not always going to have exactly the same response as another person who has a gut microbiome that is completely different to ours. So I think the main thing that I've learned on this journey of my hormone issues and my skin and my PMS and stuff is just that it's going to be very individual for me, and that is probably something that I want to express to everyone watching this. You're going to find things that are going to work for you that might not necessarily be the same as someone next to you. Yeah, I started getting spots, really, really big ones, like this. This is actually, I think, it's a scar because it like rises up and it doesn't have a head, and it's sort of just there. And I have other scars. So these ones here are all scars caused by acne, and they're a type of scar, keloid scars. And what a keloid scar is it's just a raised scar. So instead of the scar making your skin flat when it scars over, it like bumps your skin up. And I have those all over my chest, the one that I have there, and I have them on my shoulders as well. That is a whole nother video, I feel like, because that has been a whole journey as well. So I'm going to try and bring it back to the menstruation. So I started getting spots, and when I went to the doctors about my spots, the first thing that they did was put me on the pill. They said, this is going to clear up your spots, and basically you will not suffer with acne anymore if you go on this medication. So I went on the pill. It didn't really clear up my spots. I think it may have done like a little bit. One thing that I just remember about the pill is it just made me gain weight. It just made me like bloated. And then I was put on limecycline for my skin. But again, I don't want to go too much down the skin path. I'll probably do another video on that. And limecycline is essentially just like an antibiotic that is supposed to clear up your spots. Didn't really work. So what really worked for my skin was when I cut out dairy. Like that is the one thing that really cleared up those big cystic under the skin, very painful spots. I feel like dairy is such an inflammatory food. And I just noticed like a whole heap of things sort of clearing when I dropped dairy from my diet. And even now, when I have like little bits of dairy in my diet, I will get a spot. If my veins will just erupt and I'll just feel like horrible in my skin, and it is just not nice. But it tastes really good, so that's another battle. I'd say my bleeding was pretty normal. I had regular cycles, not massively heavy bleeding. What I would get was horrible, horrible pain. I remember my mum telling me when I was in pain that the only thing that she really knew what to do was just to go and lay down and try and force myself to go to sleep. That was what she told me. That really worked for a really long time. I also got migraine attacks as well, and I think that was linked to the pill, because after I got the migraine attacks, they tried to put me on different pills that helped with migraines, because I think migraines can be triggered by the pill a lot. And so what I had learned to do from the first instant of having pain in my body was just to go try and sleep it off and try and rest my body. And that's like, it's a really comfortable, nice thing to do. But 15 years later, where I'm at now in my life, living with still the same issues, still the chronic pain, been diagnosed with dysmenorrhea, which is essentially really painful periods, and migraine attacks as well. I don't want to keep just going to lay down and trying to force myself to go to sleep whenever I'm in pain, because it's not the lifestyle that I want to have. I want to be able to work every day. I want to be able to not be controlled by my chronic pain. This is the journey that I'm on, trying to really heal those parts of me. I do still have days where I just have to go and lay and be in a dark room and have a flannel on my head, a cold flannel. So yeah, I do still have days where I have to forget about the duties that I have that day, forget about the work that I have that day, and just have a complete day off. I'd say that happens at least 2 days every month, where I just have a day where I completely am in so much pain that I can't really function. I remember the first time that I started Googling about periods and menstrual cramps, and I have a disability myself, a physical disability, so I know the barriers that that has had in my life. And there was a line that really stood out to me when I was on Google searching about menstrual cramp, and it said period pains when they are in their extreme is as severe as actually having a disability. And this was at a time where the words chronic pain and things like that weren't really well known, and I'd never really heard that phrase before. And so reading that, knowing how my physical disability, my limb difference affects me, and then reading about period pain actually being classed as a disability as well, was really shocking to me, but it made a lot of sense because it really does hold me back from living out my normal daily life and functioning in a normal way. I started tracking my cycle back when I was trying to get pregnant with my ex-girlfriend. And not many people know this about me, but I was visiting the fertility clinic. I was with a female partner, so obviously we had to do things a bit differently. It was probably the month before, or a couple of months before embarking on that journey of trying to have a baby with her, that I started tracking my periods because I knew how important that was for the process. It's been, like 7 years now that I've been tracking my periods. Obviously, I never got pregnant, not with her anyway. I got pregnant after that. So it's been 7 years since I started tracking my periods. And again, my periods are pretty regular. I notice that when I am stressed or when I'm holding a lot of tension in my body, I will be a couple of days later than what I usually am. But usually I'm around 29 to 32 days. So that's quite a long cycle. I think the average is 28 days. So I'm just a bit above that. And then I'll have my period for about 2 days of more heavy bleeding, and then a couple of days where it's a little bit lighter, and then a couple of days of just spotting. So I'd say that my period length is, when I'm actually like properly in the period phase, it's probably like 3 to 4 days. So it's not a lot, but for the intensity of it and for the amount of pain that I'm in, it feels really extreme. I keep like flitting backwards and forwards because there's a lot to my period story and I'm just trying to work it out. So please stick with me. If anything is confusing, please put a comment down below and I will try to answer it as best as I can. Where I'm at now is what I've just described, with having like a 3 to 4 day period and then spotting afterwards, and about 31 days of a cycle. The main thing that is an issue for me at the minute is clotting. So gross, but it's so natural and so normal, and it happens to so many of us. So I really want to speak about it. The most pain that I am in when I have my period is when I have blood clots. For the first day of my period, I'd say it's thick but not like clotty, and then on the second and third day, that is when my clots will usually appear, and I will get quite big clots come out of me. I'm saying this on camera, but this is what causes the pain. It's the clotting, and it's like the ripping down of those big clotty things off the side of my womb. Now I'm going to go back and flash back and sort of think about why I think that I am still having really painful periods and my relationship with my body and how that's changed over the years. I started my period journey with acne and painful periods. That then got better in my early 20s. I was vegan. I didn't eat dairy. I definitely had some periods that were painful, but it wasn't as extreme as I'd say what it is now. I think what really changed that and what changed my relationship with my body was going through the fertility process with my ex, and after breaking up with her, then straight away getting pregnant by the first man that I slept with. Actually, it's not the first, it was like the second. Okay. Damn. I just can't remember these things because I was drunk most of the time. That's another thing as well. When you've spent so many years drinking alcohol and fucking with your body with drugs, it's no wonder that I have a lot of these lasting symptoms and difficult relationships with my body because I was just numbing it for so long. I got pregnant in 2019 and then again in 2020. Both times I had abortions, obviously. I was a heavy drug user. There was no way that I could bring a child into the world in the state that I was in. It just wasn't going to happen, and it would not have been healthy for everyone involved. I made the decision to have those abortions twice. During those abortions, probably some of the most traumatic times of my life because each time the procedure went wrong, and again, I was in so much pain from the tissue of the fetus getting stuck in my cervix. The hospital told me the first time that happened to me that it happens in like 1 in every 100 or 1,000. I can't remember now, but it happens to a certain number of people, so it's not like an uncommon thing. And essentially, all it is just your cervix not opening wide enough for the tissue to pass through, and it just causes this really excruciating pain. The first time that happened to me, I was rushed into hospital and they surgically removed the rest of the tissue from my vagina. And honestly, that was just a blur because I was on morphine. They gave me morphine and gas and air for the pain. Everything was just so hazy. I just felt really tired and exhausted afterwards. The second time, the same thing happened, but because it was 2020, that was the year of lockdown, and they said, I'm sorry, but you're just going to have to stay at home and wait for this to pass through. They advised my partner what to do if things started going wrong, even worse, or if I was in even more pain. They sent me more painkillers in the post, and they said, it's just going to be very painful, but hopefully it will pass. And if it hasn't in the next 24 hours, then we can take you in. But they were really strict on the coronavirus stuff and it being locked down. They just said, we're really sorry, but you just have to deal with this. Oh, bless my partner at the time. He was so worried about me and spent the whole time with the TV on, trying to like distract himself, but also like checking on me like every half an hour and seeing how I was doing. And there was a part of that journey where he told me that I went completely grey and I passed out, and he thought that I was close to death. Like he was like, you look like you were dying because your whole body just, your skin went grey and you just passed out in my arms. You know, that must have been really scary for him. Again, I was just on so many painkillers at the time that everything was just like this fuzzy, painful blur. I don't know if anyone watching this has ever been in like that much pain, but you sort of just go into a different dimension when you're in a lot of really excruciating pain. It's like you're just viewing the world from pain. You can't really have any other method of existing or functioning because pain is just like put this whole cloud over your aura. Yeah, again, that was just really painful, very traumatic. Just not an experience that I ever wanted to go through again. I guess that should have been the catalyst for my sobriety. But funnily enough, that wasn't. There was another thing that was the catalyst for my sobriety. And now I am sober. Basically, my sobriety has just been healing from all of those things and trying to heal my body from all of the trauma that I put it through. After those 2 abortions and when I finally got sober, I just had a really different relationship with my period and my body. I definitely feel like I had PMDD, where every month it would be self-harm in my luteal phase. So for people who don't know, the luteal phase is the 2 weeks before you get your period, just after ovulation. So from your period to ovulation is your follicular phase, and then you have your ovulation period, and then you have your luteal phase. The luteal phase is commonly known for people getting PMS because you've got that build up there and you've got all the tension as your body is getting ready to bleed. So that was always a really difficult time for me. And I would always think about the abortions that I had and think, oh, what would happen if I decided to keep my babies? And I just really felt a lot of shame in my body and just so much sadness. I was just so sad. I was like, things have died in my body. Like that's, how it felt. I know some people don't vision their abortions as being a living thing, but there was living things inside me and they died inside me. And that to me is really scary. And it just made me really, really sad. I don't feel sad about it anymore because I've done a lot of emotional processing. I've processed all of this, and it feels really good actually to just be here and say that I don't feel sad about these things anymore. I can look back at them and be like, oh my god, that was traumatic, and I can think about the times that I was sad. But as it stands, and I think this is why I'm ready to put this out into the world, I don't currently feel sadness over that. I feel sadness for my old self who had to go through that, but I don't feel sad that I had the abortions. I know that it was the right choice for me, and I'm really happy with where my life is now. So, if those things never happened, maybe I wouldn't be here. When I got sober as well, I was working through a lot of shame. The shame was like eating me up, thinking, what are people going to think of me? Like, I've had 2 abortions. Like, most people just have 1, or most people have none, actually. But the fact that I had 2, and the fact that I let that happen to me twice, and I was so, I don't know what the word is, I just didn't care about my body. And that really upset me, the fact that I let myself get to a place where I just didn't care about what happened to my body, and I was damaging my body by having unprotected sex and by taking lots of drugs so that I didn't even remember if I had protected sex or not. I was just so completely numbing myself and damaging my body. It's like, how could I let myself get to that? Why didn't I love myself enough? Because of all of that shame that I had, and because I was so upset and was thinking about, thinking what if type thing. There was points where I was just like, oh, I really wish I could have met my babies. So each time I had a period, I was hating myself, because if I had a period, that meant that I wasn't pregnant and that I couldn't have the chance of meeting my babies. I don't know, for some reason in my head, I just really started disliking when I had periods. And I also know it's because when you are passing the tissue from having an abortion, it just looks like a period. That's what it is. It's just like a really heavy, uncomfortable, painful period. And then what was I having every month? Really heavy, uncomfortable, painful periods. So again, that was a bit of a trigger for me. And I couldn't get away from that. I couldn't get away from having a period, and I couldn't get away of being re-traumatized every time I looked down into my body. Another thing that changed for me then is that I stopped wearing tampons, because the thought of stuffing anything up there was just to me oh my god, I can't. And now that I've done a lot more research on tampons and toxic shock syndrome and just how chemically they are, I'm really glad that I don't wear them anymore. Period underwear all the way. I also wear pads now, but I want to get some more period underwear. So if anyone has any good links for period underwear, let me know, because I really want to get some more and I want to just wear them and I don't really want to wear pads. Because I was too scared to put anything up there and wear a tampon, I was sort of forced to look at my period every time I had my period. And I also went through a phase of being unable to even look at my vagina. I refused to look at my vagina. Even shaving it or something, I just was, to me, it just was disgusting. I had this feeling of disgust for my own body. Ugh, and when you're in that and you're in that mindset of I am disgusting, well, it's no wonder that I was having all these issues with pain. And I had a session with my life coach, Olivia, where I talked to her about this, and I was like, it's really, there's a lot of things in my life that are going really well, but my menstrual cycle is just the one thing that I just can't seem to get a hold of. We went back to some of the trauma that I've just spoken about, and then identified that there was this real disgust of my body, and that my body wasn't working in alignment with me, but I felt that it was working against me. And so once I had changed that mindset, my relationship with my periods is now a lot better. I can look at the blood. I'm still in pain. I still experience pain, but I just feel better about having a period, and I don't feel as stressed. And I definitely don't feel like I have PMDD anymore. I have PMS still. I still get really sad in my luteal phase. I even have suicidal thoughts sometimes in my luteal phase, but I know I would never act on that, and I know that it would never go as far as being really traumatic or dramatic for me. It feels more like I'm in a flow now with it, and I understand it better, and I know, oh, that's just my luteal phase, or I've just come out of my period, and now my estrogen is rising again, so that is why like my migraines are being triggered again. And yeah, it's really helped me to know where I am in my cycle. And one of the funny things about the luteal phase and PMS is that one of the symptoms is forgetfulness. So I had to really train my brain to remember, oh, this bad mood is probably being triggered by my luteal phase, or being made worse by my luteal phase. Because sometimes I would be like, why am I so stressed? Why am I crying at this photo of a dog that I don't even know and I've never even seen? It's a photograph. Oh yeah, forgot again, I'm in my luteal phase. One of the symptoms of luteal phase
is that you forget.
Having that app on my phone and just being really aware of my cycle has really, really helped me to manage my symptoms better. Okay, now we're going to move on to my actual physical pain and how I manage that now. I have just been prescribed tranexamic acid. This tablet stops your bleeding. So because my clots were getting quite big and my period was getting heavier and it was more painful, this tablet's job is to stop the bleeding and therefore stop the pain. Has it worked so far? You know, the first time I used it, it was really helpful. And the second time I used it, it was really helpful. And then the third time, I had a really bad pain flare where I was crying and like clutching my side. I was laying on the sofa and it was just like stab pain. Yeah, I had taken those tablets, so I don't know. My theory on that bit of pain was that the emotional connection to my feelings. I listened to a podcast the other day that said chronic pain can be linked to our emotions and repressing our emotions. The day before I had that pain flare, I felt sad about something and I didn't speak about it because I was out and because it was just not the right time. Well, I felt like it wasn't the right time to talk about it. I didn't speak about it and then I sort of like just forgot about it and I didn't allow myself to really feel into those emotions. I don't know if that's related, but that's what happened the day before. And then I had this really bad pain. And then I was able to be like, oh, actually, I was really holding this thing inside me. I spoke to my partner, I was able to cry, and like he comforted me, and it was great. And I released that bit of emotional pain. That may be linked. And again, this is probably going to be another video that I do about the link between chronic pain and emotional pain, back to what I've been prescribed. I've also been prescribed the most amazing painkiller. So one of the main issues that I had with my period pain affecting my life was that it was waking me up in the night. So in the days I could be kind of okay because, you know, you take paracetamol, ibuprofen every 2 hours. So paracetamol first, 2 hours ibuprofen, another 2 hours, another 2 paracetamol, another 2 hours, another 2 ibuprofen, another 2 hours, another 2 paracetamol. And that process was kind of working for me. I was able to function in the day and then I would go to bed at night. And obviously you can't take paracetamol in your sleep unless you wake up. I was waking up in the night just in this horrible pain and then it would affect how I was the next day. And that was a real problem for me, especially where I used to live, because where I used to live was a really noisy place anyway, so my sleep wasn't great. Add pain in the middle of the night on top of that, and oh my god, I just felt like a complete zombie in my body sometimes. It was just so unmanageable for my daily life. And this is, I'm literally only talking like 3 or 4 months ago, this is what I was experiencing compared to now where, oh, I get sleep and it feels amazing and I'm not a zombie anymore. And the medication that they prescribed me is called diclofenac. Again, I will put it down here, diclofenac. That is a really, really strong pain medication that lasts 14 hours. The only downside, I mean, some might say it's a downside, some might say it's a good side. And this medication is a suppository, so you put it up your bum, you just whack it up there and it lasts 14 hours. And you know what? I am so grateful for that medication because without that medication, I would still be waking up in the night in a lot of pain. Since I got prescribed this tranexamic acid and the diclofenac, which is only like 2 months ago now, my pain has been way more manageable. Here's my dilemma. These medications are not treating the root cause of my pain. They are covering up my pain. And if you know me, you know that I am a very holistic methods girly. I love figuring out ways that I can work with my natural cycles. I don't really like taking pain medication. Part of me wanting to start this Menstruation Mondays is because I want to share my journey of trying to figure that out and trying to find out what works for me in the hope that it might help other people as well. That's where I'm currently at with my menstruation. I'm in a lot better place than I was. I can sleep at night. I have medication that stops my bleeding, and I have medication that completely stops my pain during the night so I can sleep. Yes, I do still have pain flares, and yes, bleeding from your vagina is not the most ideal situation, but I'm cultivating a really good relationship with that and learning to actually relax more and tune in with my body more and know that this is my time for hibernation. And especially like with my luteal phase as well, I used to beat myself up a lot for not operating when I'm at my best in my follicular phase or in my ovulation, and really compare my best self to my luteal phase self, and that just wasn't helping me. And since changing my mindset about that, I've been able to like work in rhythm with my cycles more and know that if I'm going to take a couple of days off, I'm going to do it in my luteal phase. I also don't plan social events on my luteal phase. I do still go out and socialize, but I tend to try and make sure all my social events are planned when I'm in my follicular phase, and just treat my luteal phase like I am hibernating and resting, and I give my body love and I send my body so much care. And I think that's really important as well, like to not beat ourselves up for operating in a different way. It's also really good as well having a partner who doesn't have these cycles, so he can remain very one dimensional when I'm like this, and it really helps me to be on a more calm level when I'm around him, especially when I'm like this, because he just is so calm. And maybe I rely on him a bit too much for that, especially emotionally as well. I will look to him for the answers because he is so calm all the time, and I'm like, how do you do this? Teach me. Having someone that is a really calm presence in your life and can balance you out, it's a really lovely thing. I probably just stress him out, but you know, it's entertainment, isn't it? Also, another thing that I should mention is that I have a cyst on my right ovary that sometimes causes me pain during ovulation. Not every month, it's very random actually. I haven't really managed to find any connections with that yet, but because it is benign, they don't want to remove it, and they said it's very small, and you know what they said is it will just sometimes cause you pain, and that's it. As if that is just it, because being in pain is not fun. The main things and the main takeaways that you could probably take from this is to really change your relationship with your body and your mindset, and I found that to be like a real game changer when I realized what narratives I was holding around being on my period and how I could change that and have a better relationship with my body. If you do have this really excruciating pain that is waking you up at night and really causing you not to be able to function, then if you can take diclofenac, it's an ibuprofen based medication. If you can take that, then I definitely recommend asking your doctor for that, because oh my gosh, if you've been in pain and then you'll suddenly experience like not being in pain with just this medication that lasts so long, it really changed my life. And it's only been like 2 months, so there's only been, actually I think it's been like 3 months, because I think I've taken it like 3 periods now. Yeah, I'm gonna do more stuff on diet and inflammatory foods. I know people have different sensitivities to different foods, and you know, you've got to do and eat what works best for you. But I'm going to be sharing some of the foods that I like to eat, and with all the research that I'm doing at the minute about diet and inflammation, I'm going to share my journey with that too. So that's my menstruation story. Thank you so much for being here. Any questions, put them in the comments, and I will see you next Monday.